My Line. And now, live from New York, let's meet our What's My Line panel. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now, gentlemen, I am continually happy to introduce Mr. Martin Gabel.
On my left, distinguished Washington political columnist for King Features, Miss Marianne Means.
It is my honor to introduce a wonderful gentleman and a man who happened to have published a book of mine a couple years ago, Mr. Bennett, Cerf.
It was a darn good book, too, man. It was all about the ladies in the White House. And she's so old, she knew them all personally, all the way back to Mrs. Truman. And here's our fantastic but frangible panel moderator, John Charles Pop Daly.
Bennett's giving me quite a ride. He had to send me a check for something we both were involved in, and he made the check out to John Charles Pop Daly, and I don't know whether I'm going to be able to cash it or not. I'm going to catch up with him. Besides, Bennett, I think you're running for office. Is it true or isn't it? This week, Bennett's going to Bethany, West Virginia, to Dallas, Texas, to Dubuque, Iowa, to Cocoa Beach in Florida. Is that right?
All in 4 days.
What are you running for? You're going to do this all in 4 days?
Running away.
And speaking of Bethany, West Virginia, may I say that we are much gratified to have in our audience tonight the governor of that fine state. Hope he has a good half hour. Miss Marianne, have a good time for the next half hour. We want you to enjoy it. Martin, you always do, and it's nice to see you there.
Thank you, John.
We'll be up to our usual tricks. We'll also have a famous mystery guest before my friends on the panel a little bit later in the program. But right now, let's meet that first contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Oh, that's very good. X.
Thanks, John.
How are you? Nice to see you. Would you tell us where you're from?
Originally from Santa Monica, California. I'm living in Connecticut now.
Originally from Santa Monica, California, now living in Connecticut. May I present the panel, Mr. X? And panel, it goes without saying that we have good sufficient reason for not revealing the name of our guest. And now will you join me over here, sir? And we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. We can tell you that Mr. X is self-employed and he deals in a service. And we will begin the general questioning with the peripatetic Bennett Cerf.
All right, you frangible fellow. Mr. X, would we know your name if you had signed it in on that board?
You might.
Is it because your name has appeared recently in the newspapers?
It has?
Has it appeared in the news section of the newspaper?
No.
One down and 9 to go, Miss Francis.
Has it appeared in the sports section of the newspapers?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Gabel.
Has it appeared on the editorial page?
No.
3 down and 7 to go, Miss Mead.
It's in the want ad.
Does that leave us with the financial or business section?
It leaves you with whatever sections of the newspaper you can rouse up in your mind.
All right. Is this a service that you could perform for both men and women?
Yes.
Is this a service that you would be likely to perform in my home?
No.
Well, let me, with your permission, let me say this, that the service, to the degree that you utilize it, is certainly to an extent utilized in the home. In that sense, yes, the service does come to you in your home. It can come to you in your home.
In other words, this is an indirect service. I do not deal with you directly for this service.
That's right.
Do you have anything to do with a Your product is the service. It isn't. Is there a product associated with your service?
In a manner of speaking, we would have to agree there was, yes.
Is this something that would be attached in my home? In the sense that it would be a functional part of the home?
No. 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. X, have you got anything to do with either an educational institution or a utility of some kind?
No.
Let me have a small conference. Bennett, we don't want to be unfair, and you know that.
Yeah.
And there is a relationship between our guest and the field of education, which is not primary. Let me hasten to say that. It's secondary, but since it does exist, we won't give you a no on that. We'll give you a qualified yes.
Well, then I may assume, Mr. X, you have nothing to do with any educational institution as an officer thereof. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Have you got anything to do with some kind of book or magazine or newspaper?
Yes.
Is it a newspaper?
What was that?
Newspaper. It is a newspaper, yes.
Is it a newspaper?
Yes.
Are you either an editor, writer, or owner of a newspaper?
Editor, writer, or owner, somewhere in that vast realm, I would say you were active, right, wouldn't
Yes.
you? Mm-hmm.
And you are now living in Connecticut, Mr.
Yes.
X? Is it a connection with a newspaper in the state of Connecticut?
Yes.
Would it be New Haven?
No.
5 down and 5 to go, Miss Francis.
Is it, however, in the educational field that you are related, is it to a college?
No.
6 down and 4 to go, Mr. Gabel.
Would the occasion, Mr. X, of your being in the newspapers in the last short period of time have to do with some controversy that you were involved in?
No.
7 down and 3 to go, Miss Means.
Is what you do writing in some way? You do the writing for the
Yes,
newspaper?
In part, mm-hmm.
Might your function then be editorial?
In a very broad sense, we would say that our guest does exercise some editorial function in the process of presenting his service, which is in part involved in writing, yes.
Well, I am right in assuming that you are not a reporter of some kind, then.
That's right.
In your writing, does this involve passing judgment on something? Are you a critic of some sort?
No.
Nope. 8 down and 2 to go, Mr. Cerf. Going to give you 1 more minute.
Mr. X, there is one city in Connecticut that you are more connected with than others. Is that correct?
No. And I'm not going to rule that as a formal question, Bennett. It's an assumption which you've taken probably from a previous line of questioning that is not true. What we did say to you is that it has some connection with a city in Connecticut.
Yeah.
We just left it there.
Yeah. Do you write any kind of a You don't write. So I can
He does write in part.
Is what you write ever syndicated nationally, Mr. X?
Yes.
It is. Do you write on a specific topic most of the time? I mean, one
Yes.
subject.
Yes.
Is the subject either politics or finance?
No.
No. 9 down and 1 to go, Miss Francis.
Do you draw as well as write, Mr.
Yes.
X? Do you do some kind of a strip? I mean that in the nicest possible way.
Yes.
Would you be considered a cartoonist?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely right. Very good.
But
Bud Sagendorf, who writes and draws the comic strip Popeye.
Oh,
Which, at least I grew up with. I suppose everybody else did here. It's syndicated by King Features. Was started way back before I was born, I reckon, by Mr. Seeger, wasn't it?
Yes.
And you worked with him, and then upon his passing, Mr. Sagendorf took over Popeye.
This is King Features Evening at What's My Line.
The King Features Evening is in 300 papers.
What do the spinach manufacturers think of you?
Bennett, I was just going to say,
Spinach
is there a Popeye spinach?
After 37 years, we're finally on Popeye's 37th birthday, bringing out his own brand of spinach with his name
I
and
hope
picture
it's covered
on it.
with olive oil.
I can see great future now. I can see one of my young ones opening a can of Popeye spinach, eating a half of it down, walking up to the town bully, smacking him right in the chops and getting knocked for a halo. I can see it coming. Thanks very much, Mr. Segendorf. Nice to have you with us. We'll have another contestant for you in just a moment. Now will our second contestant enter and sign in, please? Ethel Russell, right, ma'am? Is it Miss or Mrs. Russell? Mrs. Russell. And where are you from?
From Great Oak, Chestertown, Maryland.
Great Oak, Chestertown, Maryland.
Correct.
Very nice to have you with us. Mrs. Russell, may I present the panel? Now, if you'll join me over here, please, we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right, panel, we can tell you that Mrs. Russell is self-employed and deals in a product, and we will begin with Martin Gabel.
Thank you, John. Mrs. Russell, Maryland is horse country. Are there any horses connected with what you do?
No horses. 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Means.
Is this the sort of product that I might find in my home, in the ordinary home?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Russell, is there anything seasonal about your product?
No.
3 down and 7 to go, Miss Francis.
Is it a product that one would find outdoors, Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Does it have anything to do with something that might entertain in any way?
Formal entertainment, no. We would have to say
Oh, I'm
no.
a very informal entertainer, John.
I know. Well, I am too. 4 down and 6 to go. That's informal entertainment, Mr. Gabel.
Is your product something that one would use in the daily course of events?
No.
5 down and 5 to go, Miss Means.
Does your product have anything to do with animals?
Yes.
Is it an animal that might be described as a domestic animal?
We would have to agree that the animal in the guise in which we are discussing it has been domesticated, yes.
And we are talking about this animal when it is alive.
Yes.
Is this animal used in games of any kind, as sport?
No.
6 down and 4 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Russell, is this a four-legged animal?
No.
No.
7 down and 3 to go, Miss Francis.
Well, now, it's not a one-legged animal. Is it an animal that wiggles?
You mean as a basic means of locomotion, does it wiggle, like to get from one place to another?
I just meant, does it wiggle, John? I don't know what you have in mind.
Well, there are lots of things that in moving from one place to another wiggle, you see. That's what I was wondering about.
Well,
Like a
is it a two-legged animal?
Yes.
Is it in the bird family?
Yes.
Is it a bird that is now and again found in a cage?
No.
With your permission, I am not sure that it has never been caged. There are, I would think, bare possibilities. May we have a small conference? Arlene, just to mislead you, we recognize the possibility that it is a bird that might, in some instances, be kept in a cage. So we'll give you a yes.
It would be kept in a cage if this bird were at a zoo.
That's where we thought it might happen, yes.
Is this bird ever seen in a zoo?
Yes.
Is it rather a large bird?
Yes.
Is it a bird in the, what is that bird? Is it in the falcon family?
No. 8 down and 2 to go, Mr. Gabel.
Do you sell this bird?
Yes.
Do you sell it in a store?
No.
No. 9 down and 1 to go, Miss Means.
Mike has been described as a bird of prey. Is it that type of bird?
No, I don't think so.
Not Mrs. Russo.
I'll Swan. I thought you'd get this,
got one
and I'm
more.
so surprised.
Swan.
It's a swan, yes. It's a swan. But I want to congratulate all of you anyway for getting onto the bird. It is a very rare character of bird to come to, but Mrs. Russell raises swans and sells them in pairs. She started actually just getting a pair of her own, and then it grew like Topsy from that point on. Some weight, what, 35 to 40 pounds?
35 to 40 pounds.
And
yes.
did you say they could fly 100 miles an hour?
That is right. 100 miles an hour, have about a 9-foot wingspread, and can crush a galvanized pail if they want to with one sweep of the wings.
That'll make you stand on your head, won't it?
Mrs. Russell, you know that W.C. Fields, the old comedian, was once seen lashing at a swan with a whip, and somebody asked him why he was doing this, and he said, "The darn bird hissed me."
Bethany, look out. He's coming. Thank you very much, Mrs. Russell. It was nice to have you with us. We'll meet a mystery guest in just a moment, but first, this message. And now the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery challenger, for which the panel is blindfolded as usual. Blindfolds in place, panel?
Yes, John.
Good. Will you enter mystery challenger and sign in, please? Panel, as you know, a different form of questioning this time. One question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise, and we will begin with Arlene Francis.
Are you a motion picture performer?
Avant de commencer, je voudrais vous dire que j'ai une connaissance très superficielle de la langue anglaise. Veuillez répondre pour moi, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Qu'est-ce qu'elle a demandé, madame?
I think I recognize the voice, but I will refrain and simply ask, have you taken to wearing a beard in the last few years?
Oui.
Are you known mostly for comedy?
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Are you known mostly for comedy?
Mais toutes les choses. Quand je suis très sérieux, on me considère sérieux.
Go, baby.
We know, Mr. Cerf.
Well, I'm pretty sure I know who it is, too, but I'll string along a while and ask, have you ever played a series of the most horrible gangsters ever seen in movies?
Mais c'est vrai.
Oui.
C'est vrai, c'est vrai.
Say it in unison. Come on.
Malheureusement, but I can't fool you.
Edward G.
I might fool you this way. I've never been able to fool you. This doesn't fool you either, does it?
You
No, I'm
couldn't
afraid
disguise that voice.
The
Ed.
voice is just too distinctive, Ed. We knew you were in town, though. You're here for the Hanukkah Festival
That's
tomorrow
right.
night.
It's annual appearance that I make at the Hanukkah Festival tomorrow evening,
Tomorrow
rather.
evening,
Yes.
But
Tomorrow
nicer-
morning I shall be rehearsing.
Yeah, but nicer than that, he's here because City College is giving you the James K. Hackett Medal for the
Yeah.
first medal from City College for distinction in the dramatic field. Isn't that nice?
I think it's kind of nice, actually, they've been honoring jurists and clerics and literary men that at last that they recognize the prodigal son. Don't you think so?
John, you realize that Eddie was one of the great members of the original Theater Guild group?
Yes.
before he played that series of dreadful gangsters,
Yes.
that he has owned one of the great collections of French Impressionists
thank you.
in this country.
Yes.
One of the few fellas that ever bought such a collection out of salary rather than capital, which is a very brave thing to do.
Well, it's been a sort of an incurable malady. It still sticks with me, but it's gotten out of hand.
More important than that, he
You've got
also
to be a
buys books.
zillionaire to buy anything nowadays.
Well, what a wonderful malady to have.
Yeah.
And also, how wonderful of you to come every
Well,
year
it's nice to
for
be
Bonds
here.
for Israel for
Nice
Hanukkah.
to see you all again.
Thanks very much. It's wonderful to have you with us. You've done quite well so far this evening, panel. Congratulations. We'll have another contestant after. And now a final contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Georgiana. Miranda, right? Miss or Mrs.? Miss Miranda, and where are you from?
Jamaica.
From Jamaica.
Yes.
Nice to have you with us.
Thank
May
you.
I present the panel? Now, would you join me over here, and we'll let the audience at home and in the theater know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that Miss Miranda is salaried and deals in a service, and we'll begin things with Marianne Means.
Is it relevant that you come from Jamaica? No.
1 down and 9 to go.
John,
Mr.
is
Sir.
that Jamaica, British West Indies, or
Oh, no.
Jamaica, Long Island?
Jamaica, Long Island. I'm sorry. Did you ask in
Oh,
that
yes,
context
I'm
whether you
sorry.
start over again? I'm sorry, Mary. I should have made it clear.
This is a service?
Mm-hmm.
Are you a performer of some sort? Do you deal with entertainment? No.
No. 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Miss Miranda, do you perform this service for human beings?
Yes, I do.
Do you perform it for both sexes?
Yes, I do.
Do you come into actual contact with the sexes when you are performing said service?
Occasionally.
You do?
Yes.
Do the people you come in contact with assume a position of being seated or lying flat while you're serving them?
No, and actually here, Bennett, when you said contact, we've meant in physical presence of. Did you mean actual physical touching?
I meant actually touching these
Oh,
people.
well, I'm sorry. We'll give you a no on that. That's 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Francis.
Do people come to you for your service, Miss Miranda?
Sometimes, I would say.
Sometimes, right.
But you could go to them?
I could.
Do you work indoors?
Yes, I do.
Could it even loosely be called an office?
Yes, it could.
Do you use any implements in your job?
No.
3 down and 7 to go,
Just
Mr.
little
Gabel.
old you.
Is the service more useful for men than for women?
No.
No. 4 down and 6 to go, Miss Means.
Do you instruct in some sense? No, I don't.
5 down and 5 to go, Mr.
Miss
Sir.
Miranda, do you work for a non-profit making organization?
Yes, I do.
Are you possibly an employee of the state or city?
Yes, I am.
Is it of the city?
Yes, it is.
Are you in one of the departments of the city of New York? Connected with one of the departments of the city of New York?
Bennett, I'm going to, because of time, throw all the cards over, but congratulations, because I think they're on the road, ma'am, and pretty soon an assistant district attorney would be identified. What a wonderful way to go to court. An assistant district attorney in Queens County, appointed by District Attorney O'Connor, and congratulations to the legal profession.
I didn't know
nice
you
to
could
have
get
you
that
with us.
job at the age of 11, John.
Oh, you can? Thank you very much. Since I have used up all the time, with the panel's permission, I will say, Marianne, lovely to have you with us, and Martin,
very much.
come back again soon, and thanks to all of you for being with us on What's My Line?
What's My Line is a CBS television network production in association with Mark Goodson and Bill Cotton. This is Johnny Olson speaking. Brought to you by Suppo's Stockings, the beautifully sheer stockings that look as good as they feel.